Welcome back, everyone, to the Night Shift. This is Night Shift number 50. If you're just tuning in, ZP here with Dan. And Dan, we've not only made it to 50, but our 50th show off the generosity of the community is our largest prize pool ever, where, hey, we're shooting for the goal of 6767 before the end of the night.
I mean, we got some memers in here, ZP. I don't know how I feel about it. I just want it to be recorded. It's not my idea. Okay, it's not my idea. But I mean, it is amazing that I'm so shocked. I was watching earlier, and I just was like, is this right, that number? Because I had it muted. I didn't hear any. I don't know what you guys were saying about it. Where you went on the show, ZP, but I imagine the guys are going crazy.
Yeah, and it all kicked off from a $3,000 donation from Tetsio earlier in the show, who wanted to celebrate Night Shift number 50, and then the community kind of looked at it and said, you know what, we're going to add in on top of it. So I think right now it's at like 6,200, 6,300, but really love all the support here, and just fun to put on the show week in and week out. And Dan, time flies. We were just kind of reminiscing in the break of, wait a second, we're actually starting to come up on the 1 year anniversary, not only of Night Shift, but give it a few more months, it's like the 1 year anniversary of the trolley tournament back last year. It's like, whoa, it's been a year.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's been a while. And this is basically the open beta waiting room, though, because we've been doing this for 2 years in total. So hopefully we'll get there eventually. And you guys who are here, you'll know. And I think it's going to be really fun to see how things develop as EP, because we're going through changes every single week. Even though we've been going for 2 years, this game's so interesting because stuff just is constantly being revolutionized. Like, why am I seeing McGinnis over last week? What's happening?
Hey, you know what? People realize she's good, not only terrorizing pubs, but now good in high-end comp too, which means, by the way, the hero is going to get sent to a dumpster. Count on it. But before we get to the bracket, one thing to give a shout-out for, of course, is that we have renovated the Graveyard Shift. It is now a public podcast, but patrons can submit for Q&A at the end of the show, and we are doing this weekly. If you haven't caught it, we've done 2 episodes here so far. Episode 3 is going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern at the same time that Night Shift usually starts. I will not be there because I am I cashed in all my frequent flyer miles for a trip so my dad can finally see Asia for his 70th birthday, but it will be Jake, Lightbringer, and a special guest there, so something you won't want to miss tomorrow.
Nice. Are you just flying over Asia? Like, what's the trip? Are you going to somewhere specific in Asia? Like, it's a big place, CP. I feel like
we're going to Korea and Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, it is where we're going. So.
That sounds like a pretty sick itinerary.
Yep, and part of the trip, and this will be the last off-topic thing to mention on the trip, is that my dad's retired military. We're going to try and get Achilleos some alcohol off the airbase that you can only get on the airbase in Korea. So we'll see. Some of Philly's finest. It's going to be an adventure. But either way, we got to talk about what's going on here today, starting with the North American bracket. And it's going to be a run back for Pulsar Esports, where they've made a few roster changes. Crayon gone, deciding, I'm going to be more of a substitute when it comes to competitive play. And Brazilian, well, off the team of his own volition. Rumor mill says maybe looking to join the new Ido team, but who knows where that's at. But instead, Pulsar, they've made a few roster changes up against Poppers Pupils, who is never really far off from the top. Winner goes up against Melee Creeps, and Melee Creeps has been very much the team to beat over the last week. And honestly, Dan, a remarkable recovery given that they lost half their roster.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually been really cool to see how much faster I think teams and players adapt this deep. And I guess it kind of makes sense because so many of these players now have so much familiarity playing with each other just through different rosters and just at the top level. Just like, it's just really cool to see how the scene has developed, because there was such a time, if we're talking about history, where it wasn't like that, ZP. Like, you get a new team and really it was kind of like hot garbage for quite a while, but now it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's honestly, I feel like the shakeups in NA are going to lead to a healthier scene overall. I mean, the Ido team, whenever it is fully set in stone, is going to be extremely fearsome. And by the way, like, the day we get the new Ido team versus Melee Creeps, oh man, everyone's all in on that. But let's take a look at our first roster. I believe it's going to be Pulsar that we're taking a look at here first. And yeah, I mean, obviously, Dan, you take a look at this, you have some very well-known names like Hydration and Scout. Scout, of course, part Melee Creeps for their longest win streak of all time. Hydration needs no introduction. I mean, Hydration was the team and Deadlock for the longest period of time. You add some veterans like Aiden on there and Connor, and also, I mean, a player that we've become more and more familiar with in Snakes, who, was subbing for Melee Creeps recently, has kind of, I feel like, been on some of these top teams and small doses over time. So, not much of this roster is actually a surprise.
Yeah, and I actually really enjoyed Snakes as well, and how good Snakes was back in the FPS Lounge time. I think in particular, Billy was something that Snakes was really, really, really good at. And I think that this was also before some of the Billy buffs as well. I think Snakes was one of the best NA players there. So yeah, I think back to front, really interesting stuff here. And I got to say, Aiden the Destroyer, Aiden is I think the one player I want to see on his signature hero more than anyone else, I think, in NA.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, we've seen Vindicta get picked up a little bit in EU, but it's more of a pick you'll see later in the draft for tempo. And Aiden himself, I would have to go look at, but I don't think Aiden's been able to play Vindicta at the night shift level at the very least in a very long time. Like Aiden's been kind of shunted onto other heroes, but it would really be a really cool throwback to see Aiden play the Vin today. But we got to talk about the opposition, of course, Poppers Pupils, the team formerly known as FPS Lounge, formerly known as the Floor Men. One thing, even though the roster names continue to change, the actual core of the roster has been remarkably consistent. And you take a look at players to watch here. I mean, you still can't get away about talking about both Xeno and Low Main for players that, Poppers Pupils looks to more often than not to carry the team.
And I think Low Main, again, just you're talking about, FPS Lounge and so on. That's when I got to see and respect Low Main the most. Because at first, I wasn't, I got to know Low Main over time, and I started to realize that Low Main's an extremely intelligent player. He's one of those players that you can kind of give him anything, any role to do, and he'll show you some really insane stuff. Very, very smart in the game. And so I've become a massive Low Main fan over the last couple of months. So super excited to see what this roster should do. I thought this roster should, in theory, become an extreme threat to be a very dominant force here in North America. It's just on paper.
What's funny is, so we got extra data that have been sorted by production in terms of, who's been playing what the win rate is. And the eye test checks out for Low Main, where the one thing against Poppers Pupils I think you do not do in the draft is give them Billy under any circumstances, because the huge outlier in the win rates across all the heroes is that Low Main is 3-0 on Billy in recent memory. Like anytime Poppers Pupils gets Billy, they simply win. If you get Low Main on the other heroes, like maybe the Bebop, the Yamato, things like that, higher chance of winning. And I mean, it kind of makes sense too, is that given the power gap between the two heroes, and you talk about, Low Main being a consistent player, you get Billy, who is just an undisputed top pick. That's one thing. You get Yamato, who's, a little bit later in the draft and, less sought over power-wise. You put the best player ever on her, and the result's still going to be less. So, interesting look at the data. But Dan, I think we've stalled for enough time. We might be ready for a Mo 1v1 into the draft.
Ooh, I got to say, CP, I'm getting tired of the moles. Can't we throw some other animals in there? We've got other animals in the game. Can't we, mix it up?
No, and in fact, the fact that you have suggested this means that those who support Mo and Krill, they have found where you live. They are already on route. Like, you actually cannot do this to the Mo and Krill community, Dan. Like, how dare you?
Have we had any letters yet from any animal activists or anything like that? Are we still good on this segment, ZP? I don't know.
Well, we did get we got a letter from someone, like, no joke, an email about someone complaining that we were being too mean to Rem when exclaiming, he got blown up or, stomped into the curb or whatever from there. And I was just like, the casters seem biased against Rem. It's like, no. Seeing Rem just die in hilarious fashion, though, is pretty entertaining. And man, this one's coming down to the wire, pretty low HP here. And
don't take refuge in the corner. But this doesn't work, CP. I would know. Nothing good comes from being stuck in the corner. I got sent to the corner a lot at school. I don't know about you, CP.
Every now and then.
Place where good things happen.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy the corner too much, so But there was also the first grade teacher that did do that. There's a charity thing later on where we had fake cops sent to her house. It was like this thing it was like a military base thing where basically for charity you could have anyone on base like sent to a fake prison, and they recorded it. And it was a whole thing. But I remember going up and saying, "Can we send the teacher there?" And then she called me out. She's like, "I can only think of one kid who would do this." It's like, oh god.
Oh my god. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I like this. Okay. Well, you know what? I want to return to the fake prisons at some point. I mean, we will not have the fake prison of the doorman alts, the Baroness hotels. It's not going to be possible here. So you're talking about the Billy contest, CP. Seems like this is a grab for Pulsar, surely. McGinnis. Okay. All right. I've been away. How long have I been away? I don't know. It feels like it must have been quite some time because.
I mean, okay.
Dynamo sure right.
Dynamo Ban into McGinnis' first pick is a wild turn of events, even for considering NA last week, where, Melee Creeps is able to look really good on a tempo comp with early Dynamo, early McGinnis. But, okay, we have now entered a world where Pulsar values Megiddo so highly that you give over the Billy to Poppers Pupils, where again, I think Billy is like a more threatening pick because of low main's track record on the hero. So this is, I mean, look, McGinnis may be worth it, but you've just given up Billy Mirage for the cost of this, and yeah, questionable.
Giving it up for the pleasure of getting McGinnis. I don't know. I feel like, I guess we'll see. We'll see what the method of the madness is, because that's what you're giving up. So ZP, there's surely got to be some Giga Brain stuff that we don't understand, and we're going to see in the game here. And I mean, they get Pocket. Pocket's still pretty high tier pick, although I feel like still a bit more counterable in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, of the top 4 in terms of priority, Pocket has probably been the lowest prio of Billy, Mirage, Doorman, Pocket. But the other hero that's been rising, also got some recent buffs, but I think people just valuing the lockdown, especially if you're expecting things like a Calico to be picked, which is actually still pretty likely to be the 3rd pick at Poppers Pupils here, is that you get the extra lockdown from Mo, also has a little bit better economy nowadays, and the Ivy comes on in. So already, I mean, Dan, if you were to just cross-section this draft to a draft from 1 week ago in NA, we've already gone pretty wildly off script.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. And I mean, there's so many picks that come to my mind that I would want to see. Apollo would actually be one of those. I think Apollo's been just trending upwards a lot as well. The Viscous ban is... I mean, it makes sense in Viscous. Viscous is always an interesting one because Viscous is Viscous. There's not really anyone else that kind of does some of the stuff that Viscous does, especially with the save offered up. So, always interesting if you want to be getting rid of that, as Poppers Pupils do. Anyway. But there's the Infernus. Oh, yeah, Infernus, who was a top 2 pick, is making the 2nd round of bans. All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, Infernus was never as highly valued in NA as it was in EU, but... Yeah, and Infernus stock going down, but still, I look at outliers here that haven't been picked that were otherwise high. I mean, Calico in terms of pressure, and yeah, okay, the Calico is finally going to be taken off the board. Where the teams that have had the most success recently have been teams that have focused more on the early and mid game. You talk with people like Lightbringer, and generally speaking, the vibe of the current patch is that it's more of a laning and tempo meta rather than going all in on the late game, but. Even talking to people like Goober, you kind of get the opinion of like, yeah, I mean, this is like strong, but it's still a lot of pressure on the team that's going more tempo heavy because one big mistake and suddenly it's like, the entire game plan is out the window.
Yeah, it's really good to see. I like this meta. I like how heavily it is oriented around like early lane tempo and so on. I'm curious if Poppers Pupils, like, we are typically only really seeing like one frontliner. Like, I'm very EU biased at the moment because I've been doing so much EU, so I'm not sure what the interpretation is for NA. But it feels like we don't really see like double frontline. Like a Billy's is never going to be followed by an Abrams. That seems to be something that's kind of left. Yeah, but pick up the Geist. I actually kind of love as a final pick here for Poppers Pupils, where going for that over the Venator. In this instance, where you still have fearsome frontline by virtue of having Billy, you get the Geist on top of it. You even pick up Holiday at a bargain sale, where you think about how proud Holiday was in EU, still one of the strongest heroes for early game tempo, and Xeno has simply been fearsome on the hero recently. Again, talking about players that bring Poppers Pupils over the top, Xeno just got one of his overall best heroes, and Lomane got the Billy. So, in Pulsar going at the late Sinclair pick here, I don't love it, Dan. CP hates it, everybody. I love your reaction, CP, because it's always very obvious where you stand before you've even said anything. But yeah, it is an interesting one. I mean, the thing I always come back to with Sinclair is like solid outside of the ultimate. The gun is good, like the poke is good, like very good in the early laning phase. Actually great at dealing with objectives. With Vexing Bolt and so on. Has good escapability in fights. Like you can maneuver around like these circle team fight situations like really effectively with the assistant and stuff. So like the base kit outside of the ult is really good. But in terms of the most valuable ult that you're looking to steal here, are we thinking Holiday's Lasso for some pick? What are we thinking? Yeah, I mean, also Billy ult isn't a bad thing to steal, especially when it comes to mid-boss fights. I mean, we've seen Sinclair's actually like use Chain Gang and the Rabbits and have a pretty good time of it. But overall, I mean, I kind of look at this and I feel like for Pulsar, they have a team comp that is very much heavily tilted on we need to win early the mid, but Poppers Pupils got so many picks that are generally good, not only early and mid, but also have scaling potential, particularly when you look at the Mirage and the Geist, that I feel like Pulsar doesn't get that big of an upside in here. It's like, okay, Pulsar, you have to win early the mid.
Also, the other team isn't that much weaker than you in early mid. So, I don't know. I look at this draft, and just in terms of win conditions, I feel like Poppers Pupils has a pretty wide degree of advantage. And that's before considering comfort heroes where, you got things like low main onto the Billy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I do feel like Pulsar definitely is going to be in with some really nice options to be able to have an early lane. Apollo, obviously really, really good in lane still. I think Mo is also really nice because of the pressure you can put on. And if you're able to get McGinnis in like a winning lane where you can get a tower down quickly with the amount of dominance McGinnis can put into a lane, I feel like there are some formulas here that allow Pulsar to be able to have a good early laning phase so that they can get the tempo going first. So that's because I agree with you. I think of course the meta currently is so important to be able to kind of start that snowball. With McGinnis as well, you might also see that if McGinnis's lane goes really well and you get the Guardian, that you'll swap the McGinnis to deal with other objectives as opposed to swapping someone out to prioritize ganking specifically. So I feel like there's tools here for Pulsar to deal with the early lane.
Yeah, one upside for Pulsar that I can throw in there too is that it's nice to see Hydration on Mo. For those that haven't seen a lot of Hydration in competitive play, because Hydration has been on a bit of a hiatus, even when Mo was just not played by anyone in the game, Hydration would oftentimes find a way to make Mo work on some of the older Hydration teams. So again, maybe it's nostalgia in me speaking, but that is always fun to see. However, I also think I look at the comp here, and McGinnis actually staying alive is going to be a problem, where the last time we saw Xeno up against a McGinnis comp, Holiday versus McGinnis, I mean, the McGinnis was running for her life half the game. You're also going to have low main likely diving the McGinnis at any possible opportunity. So if Pulsar doesn't get the really good opening snowball here, where the McGinnis lane wins early and then McGinnis is able to go lane to lane and get Guardian advantage, I just feel like Pulsar may never get ahead of the 8-ball.
Yeah, I can definitely see the argument there. It's gonna be interesting to see how it kind of pans out ultimately. I'm very interested also in how Scout's going to perform on Lash, because of course seeing how prevalent gun Lash has been and how effective it's actually been made to be in this current meta has been really interesting. But I feel like Lash is a performance that if you're not like on top of the game, it can feel underwhelming pretty easily. I feel like you have to be able to kind of stay effective with your farm, and because you're moving around a lot, you're roaming a lot. With Lash, you're trying to get involved all the time. If you get behind, it feels like to me as EP, it's kind of feels a bit rough on Lash at the moment.
Yeah. Also, again, I'm kind of looking at the Pulsar comp and wondering, okay, how do things go well with them? I think as any comp where you're running Pocket, you have a lot of pressure at Aiden to get good afflictions, but I'd argue that pressure is even more so, I think, with the comp they have and how a lot of these team fights are likely to break down, where Poppers Pupils already has a pretty big edge of just being able to run at you and hold position in Rift by virtue of having Billy Geist. So, I mean, not that McGinnis is any slouch. I mean, part of the reason why McGinnis is getting picked is that wall and healing is really, really effective in Rift fights. But again, is McGinnis going to avoid getting abducted and dove on before the fight starts in earnest? Is another question entirely.
Yeah, interesting actually that Spooky actually picked the turret first. Usually McGinnis would pick the wall first because it's like so powerful to get potential catch or to like push the opponents away from the tower, and then you just get free tower damage, controlling the lane and so on.
It's 100% a play that's determined to try and get Guardian as fast as possible, even though it gives up souls and is a little bit less kill potential. This is not a lane necessarily about getting kills. Like, yes, you've paired it with the Apollo, and as a result, you have to give it space, but this is a lane that's trying to get Guardian down as soon as possible, so Spooky can then move to middle, move to the right lane.
Totally, and it's going to be really interesting to see how effective they are on doing that, because I do think this McGinnis lane, curious if you agree, ZP, I feel like this is kind of the foundation of like the trajectory setting lane, essentially, for Pulsar.
Yeah, I think a lot of Pulsar's game plan goes awry if you not only don't win the McGinnis lane, but if you lose it. We've kind of seen here that if things get rough for McGinnis teams if things don't go well. But with the early turret and the backup from Apollo, we're already seeing pretty good lane pressure here. So for Pulsar's game plan, this is about as good as it gets so far. Obviously, it can change at a moment's notice, and also dependent on what's going on in the other lanes.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the monster rounds, like first item for McGinnis, so like as soon as you get the monster rounds, like the minions are just not going to stay alive. So yeah, it's looking like it's going pretty well. Okay, the dive comes through to try to punish the pocket. Aiden, though, able to get away with the cloak. Although the pursuit's still on here. Maybe it's still a kill to be had. The melee life still proving its worth there. Just getting a little bit of extra damage to continue the dive and nowhere to go. League is going to pick up that kill, and this lane is actually, I mean, for Poppers Pupils, I mean, if they lose the McGinnis lane on the other side of the map, it's looking pretty good for them on the left side.
I am shocked that Aiden has not gone down yet. Aiden was playing with fire, staying in there 150 HP with an incredibly hungry Calico on the other side. Finally gets forced back to heal, and I mean, buys enough time for Connor to get back into lane.
It kind of sucks though for Aiden as well, because he was unable to really provide any counter pressure. And speaking of pressure, we can go back to the against lane here, but you know, he was not on the lane doing very much. And even though it's like 3.5 minutes gone, like their tower's taken almost 50% damage, which is pretty rough.
And again, I mean, you take a look at the left, continual pressure in from Poppers, where, I mean, this is ideal as far as the Calico lane goes, where, you know, you get lane early, Calico's freed up to not only go boxes, but apply roam pressure, potentially go in on the mid. Middle somehow has been our most quiet lane so far, Dan.
Yeah, that's a really interesting shout. Obviously, there's so much kill potential here. And I think, you know, Mo is so important on the tempo. Obviously, Mo is going to become more dangerous once the combo comes online. And to be honest, you're against Mirage here. Okay, we're going to get the Tornado again just for more damage. So I think Mirage obviously keeping them kind of at bay here. I think it's hard for them to close the distance. So they're having to kind of just chill, I think, till they get the ultimates online. And as we go back to the McGinnis lane, we're actually going to see part of the reason why you got Snakes in this position. You know, able to, that poke is extremely dangerous, and just keeping and helping McGinnis stay in position to just wipe out these waves and keep the creeps crashing on the tower.
The interesting thing, though, is that for, you know, a lane where the game plan is try and get things down as quick as possible, like, it's going okay. Like, you're not losing the lane, but I'd actually argue that low main and average are doing a pretty remarkable job of stemming some of the bleeding. Like, the Guardian took a lot of damage in the first few minutes, but yeah, otherwise have been able to hold serve, kind of deal with some of the poke pressure that's been out, and slow down the potential McGinnis snowball. And of course, elsewhere on the opposite side of the lane, Scout has just been running for his life from some of this lane pressure between the guys Calico. But in middle, find a little bit more action. Hydration pretty low, but so is Xeno. Got low for it. One last barrel, and oh, it's enough. Lefa gets the finish.
Yeah, very nice there for Poppers Pupils. And I mean, that Guardian, like you said, things are going so well here for Poppers Pupils. The Geist Calico lane almost has the Guardian down on the left side. And that feels like it's, I mean, we talked about the trajectory setting early lane results, and that's going to be enormously powerful for Poppers Pupils. And there's a drop in. Just keep the pressure back on here and keep preventing this McGinnis lane, for, like you said, from doing what it needs to do. And I think it's important that we have been kind of like highlighting this story. It feels like so much of the game really is about this start. Yeah,
it's been a great job by average and low main to hold the lane. Again, you don't look at the Ivy Billy lane and go, okay, this lane's going to run over a Paul McGinnis. But if you just keep neutral, you've done your job and then some, when you take into account what the Pulsar game plan was for this game. And the fact that Poppers Pupils has been getting the better of them significantly in left, doing a bit better in mid. Calico now freed up the roam. There we go, Chain Gang up here on McGinnis. Spooky in a bit of danger. Forced back, and more space has been created.
Yeah, and also 6k advantage for Poppers Pupils, question mark. This is actually a huge advantage at the, we're not even at 7 minutes CP. That's actually outstanding of an advantage.
Oh, look, we got the roam. Calico's coming in over to the right, so even as you have the Paul McGinnis lane about to get where they need to be, they're about to meet the Calico. Did that miss? That Tiny Lasan did not connect in. It's a full-on whiff as rotation comes in for Poppers Pupils, and not at all how they want this lane to go. The airdrop gonna seal Snakes' fate.
Oh my god, my bro needs some ability range. That was devastating. Oh no. And just like you said, that could not have only just been a way to get out of that fight, but also a way to get a kill at least on the way out. So, oh, that's horrendous. And look at the problem here. I mean, again, you kind of set it up a few minutes ago. Now Poppers is kind of out and about, ready to kind of do whatever. They are maintaining that 5-6k lead at this point, and that's a very scary prospect. Nice interrupt there. Kind of blocks it from doing anything else, Snakes, here on the Apollo. But Calico's coming back in from the back.
Calico back in from the back. Still in on the right. And again, this is all about slowing down them against Snowball. Now, Hydration gonna be heading over to right for a 3-on-3 combo instantly on the average and the fall through. And we'll see where the rest of this goes. I mean, if Pulsar puts enough people on right, they'll be able to get Guardian, but this is a really heavy price to pay, Dan, so far in terms of resources, especially when the rest of the map has been a bit troublesome for them.
Yeah, and they are catching up a little bit, for sure, I think. So that initial advantage seems like it's not quite as bad. It was 6k at one point, now it's a 3k deficit. Okay, 4k deficit. However, that left side Guardian going down and Calico roaming here for Poppers is always a dangerous prospect, but we do see that kind of counterbalance. I think, like you were saying earlier, that Hydration on Mo can be that counterbalance, can be that combo threat to an otherwise extremely mobile hero. So, and also actually, I would say we've seen that one of the big values from Mo is coming out of the early laning phase. It's just like the ganking possible is crazy. As we're going to pick up a lasso here, is this going to be a good result for Poppers Pupils? Xeno, they can try to finish things off here. The barrels are going out. Are we going to get the finish though? Coming in, trying to make it complicated here. You've got snakes all over this fight to at least trade for Spooky. Surely going down. There we go. Gets finished off by Poppers after all.
Poppers, again, just going out of their way as a team to prevent Pulsar from getting the goals they want. I mean, Pulsar was able to get mid Guardian down after all this fighting in right, but right Guardian gonna go in favor of Poppers Pupils. The time will gonna connect on 2. The re-engage from Snakes. I mean, it's enough to get 1, but he's gonna die for it towards the end. Lefa comes into the fight, and all in all, Poppers getting what they want. Also, speaking of getting what we want, Dan, we were so engrossed in casting the game. I'm looking at the prize pool. We hit our goal of 6767.
Oh my god. Wow, okay. That's incredible. You guys are amazing. You have the best community VP. It's not even a question.
Also, for those wondering, anything over this amount will go towards the prize pool for next week, is the announcement from Jake earlier in the broadcast. But just what a wonderful way to celebrate night shift number 50 here, Dan.
What do we do on the 67th broadcast?
Oh no, we might have to run it back, but League gets airdropped into the fray, instant soul change, but still really low HP. Aiden, low HP, low himself at, still has the affliction, but not really a spot to drop it down here. Both teams walking away with their lives, but it's going to be Poppers Pupils that end up with the urn control.
I'll just take a quick moment to just credit Aiden for doing a really good job. I feel like had a very oppressive lane, was getting sent back all the time, but is still actually the second highest net worth player in the game. So really good work from Aiden, because he's going to be very necessary in bringing things back here for Pulsar. And maybe this fight is going to be uncontested, but there's some action here in mid where Pulsar are looking for a fight, and Hydration does have the combo alive here, so might be able to get a pick in mid.
Of course, this fight going on while we get the uncontested urn turn in from low main, and Hydration combo up, but take a bit of a backseat. The lasso just connects on the tail end of the Mo hitbox. However, Scorn enough to keep Hydration alive in turn. Won't do much for the Guardian though, which finally goes down.
Mo needs like the Ozempic treatment or something. That's like, that does not, like, his model is such a disadvantage, I swear. Oh, in we go. Scout goes down as the kills are getting pursued here by Poppers Pupils. A really nice way to capitalize on that mid engagement. And again, that engagement is kind of after they dunked that urn as well. That was uncontested. So for Poppers Pupils, things getting really nice here. They've got a lot of map control at the moment as well. Looking to keep the pressure on, and I might just have another catch onto McGinnis there, courtesy of Poppers, who is going to send McGinnis back on that right side lane. So just continuing to be a huge pressure on the entire map here, ZP, and I think we're just going to be, seeing this more and more from Poppers Pupils.
Yeah, I think the problem here is that of the two team comps, Pulsar was running the team comp that was much more early game focused and needed a good early game. The early game has gone against them pretty significantly here. And as you look at late game scaling, I don't think things get better for Pulsar. So their window, Dan, now is like pretty small, to where I think the next few major team fights have to go pretty heavily in favor of Pulsar, or they're not going to be able to make up this gap if we're looking at something similar and it's 23, 24 minutes into the game. Yeah,
and I would think that they would want this the Rift fight, but they have managed to get some pressure on both the Billy and Calico there in mid. Looks like they're going to make their way across here. It does feel like it should be a good fight. In the meantime, we're getting that solo pressure coming in from League on the left side. Walker, that is actually taking enormous damage. That might actually go down. The Rift is going to be given up. Some assistance is provided on this left side Walker assault, and it will indeed be a pickup there for Poppers. So really good tempo on this. I mean, that's a 13-minute Walker. That's very nice timing, and you got to get a response here from Pulsar. They're going for the right side here, CP.
Full array of Rift Troopers and 4 members of Pulsar looking for the right walker. Defense coming in now from Poppers Pupils. Early lasso gonna be thrown out, courtesy of Xeno, and Snakes in a bit of a rough position. And here from the back, in comes Low Main, drops the bash down. Chain Gang coming in, great positioning towards in, pulls in 2. And now we're gonna see if Spooky can somehow get away. But Dan, not only is this gonna be a good team fight for Poppers Pupils, but the walker is still completely secure.
Yeah, I honestly thought there'd be so much more damage on that Walker. But there you go. Lomain comes in, especially on the Billy. I mean, Lomain's Billy really is truly amazing. Like, I definitely recommend watching his streams / any replays you can find of him playing Billy if you want to learn, because he's so excellent at it. But it does put Pulsar in a really bad spot here as CP. And are they going for the mid boss? They're going for the mid boss to make matters worse. And you know what? Pulsar is definitely going to challenge this.
14-minute mid-boss when you're missing a bunch of ults is ambitious, even for when you have the lead. We'll see if it works out. Snakes already into the pit for a bit of contest. It is going to be a full hands on deck for both teams. Snakes, though, first to fall. Popper's able to just back up a little bit, get the focus fire down, and everyone just kind of backs away from the McGinnis barrage. And now it's time to go back in. Airdrop, close quarters, dive now, in onto the McGinnis. Aiden falls in the melee. And we see just everyone jumping on top of Spooky. Spooky's super low. Lomain cleaning up on the Billy, and Billy's playground here. It's a full team wipe in favor of Poppers Pupils.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not all too surprising given how powerful some of these players are, especially League, who's been farming with impunity because there's been no pressure on League. League's been able to do whatever the hell he wants so far in this game, and guys looking really strong here. The Rejuva Crystal is going to be coming down. No one seems to
delaying
care.
No, this is probably an intentional delay. Emphasis on the probably. We have seen teams in other regions mess this up somehow. It's like, I thought you had it. No, you had it. A collective responsibility thing. But in any case, they delay the rejuve a little bit, walk away with a 20k lead, 15 minutes in the game, and 3 rejuves to use as they want. To say this has gone completely awry from the plan Pulsar came into the game with would be an understatement, Dan.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think we definitely were highlighting the importance of the tempo and just sort of kind of, I guess, it all went according to, you know, what we were talking about with, you know, coming out with Calico, getting to roam really quickly, but from Poppers, having a lot of success with that, allowing them to take control and snowball the other lanes. And the McGinnis value, it just wasn't seen there. And I think the big part of the problem there as well, also ZP, is that if you want to get Mo and Krill to have value in the game, you do kind of need that tempo into the mid game, because Mo, you need to get Mo in these spots, get comboing people, set up the kills, the picks. And might just have that. Poppers is going to go down. That's a rejuve, though. That is going to be expiring. So Poppers, I mean, it's so tough when you actually finally get some gang kills. It's just the rejuve crystals. But they're still going to be fighting. You're going to get caught off guard. There's no mobility on a McGinnis, so not really all that much you can do.
Not the most ideal trade. You know, 2 ults for a rejuve crystal into the instant re-engage from Poppers Pupils, taking down both Hydration and Spooky. And yeah, I mean, you look elsewhere on the map, it's about to be another walker for League who's already massively farmed ahead of the game. I mean, we've been looking at the overall game state, but you got 23k Geist who has just been farming relentlessly here. And also, the level of disrespect for Xeno, just shrugging off some of the damage from Scout, really shows just the level of stat difference that we've come to in this game. And the fact that Low Main was weighing in the wings, where Scout may just be dead here.
Yeah. It's not looking good. Under the tower, we'll get finished off. And it's hard to see Hope CP. Hope has been abandoned. I feel like.
Yeah, and I don't think it gets much better for the team comps that both teams have. I mean, Poppers Pupils, this is already the worst case scenario, and I mean, short of a massive throw mistake by Poppers Pupils, there's just not much of a way back in the game. Chain Gang gonna just seal Hydration's fate with a dive on Poppers, and Yeah, it's going to be mid-walker here, Dan, and a 3-man affliction. Well, it'll take care of 2 rejuves, but I'm not sure it's going to save the walker. And in this case, if you're Poppers Pupils, you could just back out. But they're going to get the walker and say, nah, we can just wait, grab the walker, and now we'll leave.
Yes, full command of the situation. But a lot of fun to fall back on, but very happy to take these fights as well. There's a huge stat differential. League still has the ultimate there on the guys, so can swap the health of anyone that gets a little bit too close on the chase, but they're going to disengage. But the thing about this, you have to be careful, is that sometimes when a team disengages, they can kind of encircle you and kind of just trap you, and it can be all an elaborate bait. But in this particular case, the map will be somewhat freed up to some extent for Pulsar, where they're able to get a bit of fun, but looking for a pick here. I think they found League, but they're going very deep into enemy territory for that one.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're Pulsar, I think you kind of deathball a little bit, hope for the best, but also the reflect on the early game, Dan. I think you got to give a lot of credit to low main and average in this game to stymie what is a murderous lane in the Apollo McGinnis lane. Like, they held on, they didn't give up Guardian for a very long time, let the other lanes win the game, and things just went really well for them. And here we go. What could be one of the final fights here for Pulsar as they trying to get a pick, but it just, the stat differential is too much, Dan.
Yes, there's not much else you can say about it than that. That's for sure. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you could definitely speculate, I think, in a variety of ways as to maybe what differences you could have maybe attempted with this comp, maybe with the early lane. But I think it does go back to the draft. I think giving up the Billy for the McGinnis, I don't know how contested that McGinnis is going to be. So I feel like burning the #1 pick on that is it's kind of the first thing I would question.
I mean, I think in the overall meta, you can make an argument from what was saying McGinnis recently that is the correct overall choice. I think against Poppers Pupils, where Billy just happens to be the comfort pick of arguably the strongest player on the team, it definitely tilts the equation a bit for me. And it just, insult to injury, the fact that it ends up being low main in the lane that holds on for your first pick plan. Like, if you're going to invest first pick in McGinnis, your hope is that, she gets to execute a proper game plan, which is winning lane, being able to rotate over and give you a tempo edge. And none of that happened because they got stopped in the lane phase.
Yeah, and we do have a Rift fight potentially, going to Pulsar because they're going to get the advantage on the resistances. So Poppers Pupils trying to find engagements on the outside. They're going to be able to isolate some players here, taking down Scout. I do believe as well that Sinclair is potentially up for grabs also as the fight continues around the extremities of the Rift here. Poppers looking to get pickoffs where they can. Xeno with the grab there. And we'll see if Sinclair will finally go down. Aiden goes down instead, and just a couple people afflicted, so some health is going to be diminishing, but there's not really all that much follow-up. Everybody's very low here for Pulsar.
Don't like being this exposed.
2-man to Tani Losan going to happen as League gets pretty low. No swap on the table, but that's a 29k Geist. A little bit tricky to finish off here in the best of circumstances, and League going to survive here. It's looking more and more likely as this goes on. Low main just swinging away. Heavy melee after heavy melee. Grabs the urn, picks up a few kills, and got a leisurely drop in here in just a moment, Dan.
Yeah, low main chilling with the urn. Oh my goodness, look at all those Ref Troopers. We might actually see some serious damage here onto these base Guardians. Holy.
They got the cavalry coming on over. Poppers Pupils said, nope, we're going to send 2 people over to deal with the comeback Rift. And some people have brought up questioning the current state of the Rift of, okay, maybe it should be a little bit more punishing. But, there's 2 sides to that in terms of how people argue about it, where, maybe it's fine and just forcing movement. But right now, we're kind of in the spot where when it comes to the comeback Rift, teams would rather give up the comeback Rift and deal with the minions than actually full commit to a fight in the comeback Rift.
Yeah, and it definitely seems to be problematic, especially towards the later stages of the game. But we do have a big grouping here from Pulsar here on the mid lane. Looking to create some pressure. Maybe force a response, find a way to get a pick here. We do hear a lasso in the distance. I don't think that connected with anybody. As we go into the basement here, the chase down on to Xeno. See if we can get a find here on this particular pick. But Pulsar are definitely struggling into this one. A complete, or almost a complete team wipe. A couple players escaping. Scout, I don't know if he's going to get, I guess, actually, hyper-lined on the way out.
I mean, all fairness, the scout, not sure it matters much in the game whether he gets away or not there. You see League brawling out on the bottom. I think, was that a stolen swap that went against League? I'm guessing it was, because I don't think Sinclair was getting League that low on his own. But mid-boss completely freed up for Poppers Pupils and a nearly 50k lead here, Dan. Or if you want to be technical, it's exactly a 40k lead, but either way, gonna be 3 rejuve charges to Poppers Pupils. And also, is Connor getting chased down? We got Zeno on the hunt right now. Look at the mini-map, and it is not looking good for the Magician. Zeno, all sorts of bloodthirsty here, Dan. Wait, what? No, oh no, that is disrespectful.
You brought this on yourself.
I actually respect it because I feel like he's trying to juke the shots there. He's trying to like time the where the shots are coming from the Holiday's like weapon, because it's quite a lot of delay. So you can actually like force some misses there, but like the barrels, man. So that's the answer. So
that was the slow barrel. Like, yeah, I want you to know. Just look, I'm gonna look you in the eyes as I shoot this barrel. Oh boy. Well, shrines are soon to be falling here, and there's not anything that Pulsar can really do about this point. The lead has ballooned far too much. And also, even if it was dead even, the comp that Poppers Pupils has is just better this later into the game.
Yeah, and that's the point that you made early on. Is so true. We're definitely getting to see how devastating it's going to be in leagues on 35k. It's actually going to maybe have to use a rejuve crystal. There we go. League is going to get dealt with, so the affliction doing some damage. But still 2 rejuve crystals up as the base is continuing to get decimated. We've got some damage, some poke on the sidelines coming through from Pulsar, but I don't think it's going to be enough here to stop this onslaught from Poppers Pupils. They want to speed run this one.
And for Poppers Pupils, we'll see if they stay. I don't even know if they really need their tree at this point. Chang'an gonna come out here from low main. And again, just working with an overwhelming stat differential at this point. Pulsar flailing, trying to get anything of note happen here, but first stage patron certainly is about to be dropped. And again, we'll see if Poppers Pupils plays it safe or they just stay for the end. But when you get this far ahead, Dan, oftentimes teams will say, yeah, we're just gonna stay.
Well, respect it. Again, this is actually a pretty insane difference for this time in the game. I mean, it really just shows how one-sided this was from the get-go.
Oh, they do back out for just a split second. And again, this is the safer way to go about things. And again, there's going to be people looking, it's like, just finish the game. You're up this much. No one wants to be known as the team that's up this much and then loses the lead somehow. True. So there is an element of risk there where it is better to be known as the team that took a little bit longer to finish off of one game than the team that completely threw a game that was won. So it's why you'll see teams play it safe in this sort of situation more often than not.
I love the voice line as well with the context from the Hidden King, who's like, they will return and we must be ready. And it's like, I don't know if you're following the game, man. Like, I don't even know what's going on. Your intel is just pretty suspicious right here. 3M for League. It just be like that right now.
I mean, who's gonna walk up and stop them? Kill a 38k Geist with... If you had to assemble a roster of heroes for Pulsar, the Just Fight League, kind of feel like you would need 3 people at this point, Dan. And even then, it would be a close fight. So, yeah, not a lot of odds of getting intercepted. However, Zeno's a different story. Tiny Losan going to connect. Opens one up here for Pulsar. It's Connor. See if Connor's able to get away. Still, 5v6 is very winnable for Poppers Pupils if they want to take the fight. But taking the fight 5v6 in the enemy base, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just back out and wait for a slightly better fight. Or in this case, maybe an ambush right outside the base.
Yeah, kind of gross as well. You know, Connor, I think, lost 90% of health just from one combo from the Calico as well, from Poppers. So this just shows how crazy the damage is right now from Poppers Pupils. As we're gonna try to get that affliction on some players, but not really working out here. The team fight, Poppers Pupils still looking really good. Just a Poppers that gets afflicted. Zeno is down, of course, on the deck, but everybody's falling now. You've got the absolute tank. I mean, League is a unit at the moment in the game. I mean, it's 27 minutes in, and we're not gonna get to 28. It's about to be over. A couple players trying to keep it alive, but the Hidden King is soon to be very dead here, ZP, and Poppers Pupils, I mean, they got the advantage straight away and they never looked back.
Yeah, they interrupted the Pulsar game plan, and from there on out, it was a long uphill battle for Pulsar Esports, and not a hill they were able to conquer in the end. Poppers Pupils going to take the challenger match, move on to the money match against Melee Creeps. Of course, the biggest money match we have ever had in Night Shift history for our weekly show. And one thing I gotta say here, Dan, before we get too far, a lot of props to Pulsar for playing here this week, where Pulsar is still rebuilding and still trying to figure out what the perfect composition is. And I'll be honest, I kind of begged Scout saying like, hey, we'd love to have you guys play this week because the rest of NA is like in a bit of shambles at the moment. And Scout's just like, yeah, you know what, we can play even though we're rebuilding. So this is a Pulsar team I do think is going to get better as time goes on. And I think anytime you go into a game like this with a tempo game plan and you miss out on your tempo window, it's also going to look a little bit uglier than it otherwise would, because you had your win condition and it passed you by, and then the rest of the 20 minutes of the match is more of a formality.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think I love the sentiment about where Pulsar are at the moment, and you know where they could possibly be in the future, because we do actually have a lot of instances where teams don't want to play because they feel like they're not ready. So it's really cool, obviously, them coming through, and definitely a lot of recognizable names, and they'll definitely figure it out. It's very difficult, honestly. Sometimes we see that even some of the teams like Buff Enjoys, I think, when Zergy got swapped onto the roster, just like one player who's obviously exceptionally good, surrounded by a team that works already very well. It took them 2-3 weeks to really find the groove and kind of get to where they are. So yeah, just I think Deadlock is very difficult in that respect.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of makes the recent Melee Creep story more interesting too, is that just the fact that they kind of avoided the rebuilding curse and didn't spend 3 or 4 weeks just, spending time in the dumpster courtesy of Poppers Pupils, and were actually able to put it together pretty quickly. So kudos to them, but the example of low-key W Zergy is a really good one of just, it can take a little bit of time to get there. And again, this was a match that was basically, hey, we're going to go in for an early game tempo comp. We want to get them against a snowball. It was too hot for the snowball to ever actually occur, and the rest of the match just kind of went the way it did. But to me, the reason why the snowball never started, it's the character we just saw on your screen a moment ago. It's got to be low main and average, who really held on in their lane, stopped that from ever being a problem, and kind of stopped Pulsar at step 1, and there was never a step 2.
Yeah, and it was very interesting to see too, because it wasn't as though Spooky on the Guinness and Snakes on the Apollo weren't getting up to the Guardian. Like they were legitimately most of the time in a spot where they should be able to pressure the tower. So the very fact that you got that performance from low main and average especially to prevent it, basically it's like the race, right? It's the race between that lane and the lane that had League on it. And it's allowing League to be able to just win very quickly to free up Poppers to start roaming. It's just exceptional job for sure.
Oh, taking a look at the stat screen here. Okay, this was a little bit more one-sided on the kill death than I even realized from the eye test, where it may be the case that I'm not sure, aside from I think an Atani Losan later in the game, Pulsar may have gone like 15 minutes straight without a kill. I mean, 45-5 is about as heavy as a stomp as you're going to get. But in terms of players that made the most of what they had, I mean, League not only got a ton of farm, but League was also pumping damage in a lot of the team fights. Same deal with Low Main, who wasn't necessarily farming, who was just constantly in team fights and died all of once on the Billies. So for Poppers Pupils, a lot of comfort picks here, whether it be Low Main on the Billy, Poppers on the Calicos, in the Holiday, and for Pulsar again. We've said a million times, but it was really the story of the match, is that they had their early game strategy, it didn't pan out, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, not too much more to say than that. I definitely agree. I think it's a good warm-up game for Poppers Pupils, obviously looking to contend for that massive prize purse that we have in the following best of 3. I think it's gonna be interesting to see where Pulsar is going to find themselves coming into the future on this one. Again, I think there's so much skill on that team and so much experience as well that it is just a matter of time. But other than that, it's funny because like Leffa, I feel like in the old days, as we switch over to the MVP, who is going to be ZP?
Oh, MVP. I mean, we got to focus on the story of the game, which was the lane that held firm. It was the low main average lane. And of course, between the two, it's a tough call. But this time, we'll give it to low main. Could have given it to average too, and it also would have been fine. But really, this was the lane that held firm and kept things absolutely fine for Poppers Pupils. And yeah, I mean, some of the early team fights here, Low main just able to walk in, easy Billy cleanup. And some of these plays are not as easy as they look, where if you spend any time playing on Billy, a lot of his game sense on where you want to be, because you take a look at the builds that the average Billy does, you're not going on builds that necessarily give you a wealth of movement beyond the default in Rising Ram. Like, you have to actually conserve your resources, look for the right period of time. In that case, Lemains is like, yep, I'm just going to engage here and use buttons at the right time.
Yeah, Billy is so devastating when you get players that are really, really good on it, because it's just, you have like all the damage, like spirit damage, gun damage. You've got the ability to get in, to get out of Rising Ram. You've got the team fight option. You've got just massive just output consistently. So it's a pretty scary hero in the hands of someone like Low Main, who's able to, I think, is the person that gets the most out of it in this particular region. And I'm actually, I am kind of sad though, because I did want to see Snakes, like Pulsar pick it first and then see Snakes playing it. So that was kind of what I wanted. But hey, you can't always get what you want in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably would have been the better play here, just off the comfort of both players. It's not so much, and that's less of a, oh, you want Snakes on Billy, and more so that it would have taken away from Low Main, where, you know, it puts Low Main's recent record on Billy up to a 4-0. And hey, look, if I'm melee creeps watching this, I 100% modify the draft so you don't give Billy up to Poppers Pupils. It is clearly a hero that they generally just don't lose with. Not that people lose a lot with Billy in general at the moment, but particularly Poppers Pupils, Dan, they don't lose with the hero.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But it will be interesting to see in our money match exactly how that kind of battle goes, because you know, it's going to be a much stronger test, of course, against melee creeps for Poppers Pupils. So we'll be interested to see what Low Main can do if he's able to get the Billy there.
All right, so the stage is set for NA Finals and our biggest prize pool of all time here on Night Shift number 50. Melee Creeps versus Poppers Pupils. Who's going to take it? We'll find out right after this.